In this video, I'm going to talk about keeping your business financial transactions separate from your personal transactions. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about bank accounts and connecting your accounts in your software. So I have the QuickBooks sample company pulled up, and I also have a Wave Apps sample company. I'm going to look at both of those softwares, but you can apply this information to any software that you currently use. Now, I do want to point out that when you are using an accounting software, one of the goals is to track all of your business transactions in the software. And you may do payroll and invoicing and things like that too. But the point is you want all of your business transactions in your software. And then at year end, you can just go to reports and pull any summary reports for your tax preparer. So for example, in this sample company, I could pull a profit and loss for last year. And this is going to give me totals in each category. So I can see how much this business spent on plant and soil, accounting fees, lawyer fees, and so on. And there's not a lot of data in this sample company from last year, but you get the idea. I'm going to run this year. Maybe it has a little more information, but it does. But basically, you can see totals in each category of income and expenses. So the reports are going to summarize your information, and you can use that to help prepare your tax return. Now, if you had personal expenses mixed in with your business expenses, then this report would not be accurate. And you definitely don't want to be trying to deduct your personal expenses as if they were business expenses on your tax return, because that opens up potential problems. So in order to not have any personal transactions mixed in here, you're going to want to be careful not to put any personal transactions in your accounting software. So let me go back to the bank transactions page. On this page, you can link any bank or credit card accounts that you want to link. Now, more than likely you have a business checking account. You may have a savings account and credit cards as well, but more than likely you have a business checking account. So any business checking accounts, savings accounts, credit card accounts that are used for business only, you would be able to link in the software, and it's going to import any transactions from those banks or credit card companies. And this does help with accounting because you already have part of the data here, and you just need to enter any details. You already have the date, you already have the amount, you already have which account it's coming from, and it just makes things a little more efficient to enter transactions this way. You can either enter the transactions or you can match to transactions that you already have in the software. Now, I do have a separate video on entering transactions on the screen. I will link it in the description if you need a refresher. But the main idea here is you want to only link your business accounts. You would not want to link your personal accounts because then your personal transactions are going to get mixed in here. Now, you might have a personal credit card that you only use or mostly use for your business. And I would say if it's mainly a business used credit card, then you're probably safe to go ahead and link it, as long as you know that if you have any personal transactions come through that credit card, you would want to mark them in a way to note that they are not a business transaction. Let me just give you an example so you can see what I mean. So this MasterCard is linked in this sample company, and let's just say that I realize that this is a personal expense and not a business expense. all I would do is just make sure I marked it as an equity transaction. And I do have a couple videos with more scenarios and more examples. I'll link those in the description just in case you want to watch those. But the point is you would not want to import transactions that are personal and mark them as business. You would want to make sure you separate them to note that they are not business transactions in some way. So for the most part, the point is you only want to link business accounts or accounts that are used for mainly business. And if there's anything personal in the mix, then you would want to separate it in some way. Now, I do want to clarify also that I do see situations where someone is at the store, they accidentally use their business debit card for a personal expense. It happens. It's not the end of the world. Just make sure you take good notes and make sure you don't mark it as a business expense. That is the key. Now, I do want to also talk about what to do if you don't have a business bank account. It is possible for this situation to happen. For example, if you just do a little freelance work and you don't really have that many transactions, then it might not make sense for you to have a separate bank account. Or if you just have a side hustle and you don't have that many transactions, again, it might just not make sense. So you may run those transactions through your personal bank account. If that is the case, then there's a couple of things that you can do. So the main thing to remember in those situations is you do need totals at year end for your taxes. And you need to have good records. So what you would probably do is track your accounting in some way. I'm going to give you some options that might work for you. Now, the first option is to simply use Excel. And I did make a video about this last year. And basically all you would do is mark down every time you had an expense in Excel and then get totals at year end. And you could even create a profit and loss in Excel. So I have this Excel spreadsheet on my website that you can download for free and you can watch that video. I personally am not a fan of using Excel for business bookkeeping. To me, it's just cumbersome. I have to scroll all over the spreadsheet. It's just a lot of manual entry that I don't like to do. So personally, I don't like this, but I know a lot of small businesses and sole proprietors use this method and it works perfectly fine for them. And it's free if you have Excel. Now, if you don't have Excel, you can use Google Sheets and it's going to work in a very similar way. Now, another option that I really like is Wave apps, because if you do not connect to auto import bank transactions, this is going to be free. You can use the starter plan. And all you would do is set up the account and then add income and add expenses manually. Every time you have an expense related to that business, you would enter it in here. If you did end up later deciding to get a business bank account and wanted to connect the account, you would do that under banking connected accounts. But just remember that you do have to pay for that. This used to be completely free and you didn't have to pay for that, but now you do. For a side hustle or a business without a lot of transactions, I think that Wave apps is a good option. Or you can use QuickBooks. QuickBooks is going to be more expensive, so just keep that in mind. Another option, if you don't have a separate business bank account, is to connect your personal account, but mark all your personal transactions as equity. If most of your transactions for the year are personal, and you only have a handful of your business transactions, then to me that feels like a lot of extra work. And then I want to talk about one last option. If you have a freelance business or a side hustle that doesn't have a lot of transactions and you're using your personal bank account for those transactions, and you also want to track your personal finances, what you could do is track your personal finances in an accounting software and simply have an account or have accounts designated for that business income and business expenses. So just to give you an example of what I mean, what I did here was create this side hustle income account, and I created a side hustle expenses account. And in that way, you could separate those transactions from your personal transactions. Now, this is not ideal. However, if you don't have a lot of transactions for your business, then this might be an option for you. Now, you would still have to take these total expenses at year end and separate them into categories for the tax return. For example, you would have to separate things like utilities from office expenses, from advertising, and so on. But it would still allow you to track your personal stuff and then also separate your business stuff. If you want me to make a separate video on that, please let me know in the comments. Or if you have any other questions, feel free to comment below. And thank you so much for watching.